So if the ball is completed, there's not a lot of run after the catch. So, it's a real disciplined group on the defensive side of the ball. Romeo does a really good job with that whole group.
The 7 former Texans on the roster, 6 games since you've been here. Is there overlap in terms of what Kubiak did schematically, culturally, with what you're doing here?
No, it's just, we just love Texans and Oregon guys. So just run with it. It's just run with it. No, there's not. That's got nothing to do with that. Trust me. It's just stay with it.
The double daily.
Yeah, he's the daily double. He should be the big interview this week, right? We'll get Mail in here and you can talk to him. And it's tough because Eddie Pleasant plays for Houston and he played for us at Oregon, so they'd probably offset each other. So
last year, you guys were among the league leaders in converting short yardage situations.
Mm-hmm.
This year, it's been the reverse.
Mm-hmm.
Is that strictly the impact of not having Jason and Evan for much of the first 7 games?
I think it's a combination of everything. I don't think there's one. I've said it before. There's not one thing, but obviously when you're missing some guys like that, I think there's a little bit of a different feel for what we got going on offensive line-wise because we've been juggling it a little bit, but it's not an excuse. We need to do a better job there, and we know that. We need to continue to stay on the field in third down situations. It's about us executing and converting in those situations.
You obviously take a hands-off approach to injuries. Some coaches don't. I was wondering why that is.
Because I'm not a doctor, so I think that's simple. I can't tell a guy, you're this, you're that, you're that. Just tell me who can play and who can't play. I think people waste a lot of time on things that you don't control. No, I don't control injuries. So if someone can play, the doctors and the medical staff here, I think, is outstanding. They tell me who can and who can't. And for me to weigh in on it it's ludicrous. I just, what am I going to do? What position could I take when Dr. DeLuca, I see it this way. That it's stupid, right? You guys were chuckling. That's the way it is. So just tell us who's up, who's down, and who can go. That's the way it is.
Really detailed information on so many things about the players, their sleep habits and all that. You don't want detailed information on their injury?
Because I can't affect that. I can affect their sleep habits. I can't affect their injury, though. If a guy has tore a muscle, I'm not Dr. Miyagi. I can't put my hands together, rub them together, and touch his leg and make him better. So just tell me who can play, who can't play. I'm really good at what we can control and what we can't control, and we can't control that. So let's go play.
When it comes to Todd, you said that he knows his body, and certainly with a veteran, you want to have him factor in the decision. Are you ultimately the one that decides which players you're going to let them give them a little leeway?
No, all the players have leeway. We never force a player to play here. So I think, no, it's nothing. I can't turn around and tell a rookie that, I know you think it feels like this, but it doesn't. Go play. That's where we're calling it chuckling, but that's the way it is. They know their bodies. They have the ultimate decision in terms of are they playing, aren't they playing. So.
Natural, I understand injuries, but is there kind of a natural inflation that comes with the fact that your offensive line finally getting healthy with Kelsey and Mathis, and then something like this happens with
No, I don't look at it that way. We look at it, there's challenges that are presented to you on a daily basis in this league, and you got to face them head on. If you start feeling sorry for yourself or get deflated about things, then shame on you. That's not the way we look at anything. We look at it as a challenge, and who's the next guy that's going to give us an opportunity to go beat the Texans.
Is Earl Wolf your next guy in when it's not at practice?
It depends on how we go through training and what package Billy's in and how we're doing. So there's a lot of different variables that go involved in that. So
Is Maragos the guy who would get
Maragos is a guy that's involved in the mix. Jalen Watkins is a guy that's involved in the mix. So.
What's the process you use to come up with the play calls on the first drive? Do you decide that during the week, or how does that go?
We game plan as a staff, so we have everything's a situational thing. What are our calls on first and second down? What are our calls on third down, third and short, third and medium, third and long? Or are we in the red zone? Are we in the high red zone? Are we in the low red zone? Are we in coming out situations? Is it a 2-minute situation at the end of the half? So all of that's game planned by our staff.
In camp, when we saw practices, Watkins was mostly cornering nickels and taking more safety snaps.
He's playing both. He's been they go through everything. When you're down to what we have here, 53 players, everybody's going to play everything. So, you'll see a lot of different guys play a lot of different positions. There may be a play where someone's out for a snap or two and someone else jumps in and plays it. Trent Cole played the wing on punt yesterday. Because we were down a guy, I think someone went to the bathroom. So Trent Cole jumped in and played the wing on punt, but it's the same footwork as the tackle has on punt. So.
Can you expand on what you said yesterday about Earl Wolf needs to be more consistent? Exactly what areas that you're looking
Everything. I think everybody does. That's not a slight on Earl. That's just there's no one right now that I can say, hey, they got it, go take it in. Don't practice today. I think he needs to show us how to be more consistent in terms of practices, and I think he'll be the first to tell you that.
Colin Barwood became a free agent. Did you expect him, to not re-sign with the Texans, and what attracted you
I'm not involved in the negotiation aspect of it, so I don't know what guys' ties are to where they were and where they weren't. You know, he was just the guy that, as a staff, our defensive staff and myself, in evaluating the tape, he was the guy, outside linebacker, we thought was a fit for what we're looking for schematically. The versatility to be able to set the edge, to be able to rush the quarterback, and also the ability to drop. So he fit in terms of where we are, in terms of what his situation was with his former team. I don't get into that aspect of it, but I get into the evaluating aspect of it.
Rookie wide receivers generally take a while before they're ready to make an impact. Jordan's just one of a large number of guys this year around the league that are putting up some pretty impressive numbers and contributing significantly. I mean, I know you had a high opinion of this wide receiver class. You surprised at all by what you're seeing around the league?
I'm not. You know, and I said it before, I thought the wide receiver draft was as deep as it's been in a long time. I don't think the draft itself was, but I think at the wide receiver spot it certainly was. And you know, a lot of those guys went high. A lot of receivers got drafted early, but there was a reason for that. I think those guys had the ability that translated to what's going on in the National Football League. And then Jordan specifically, I think there's just a maturity to him that really struck us when we met with him. I went down to Pro Day and had a chance to spend a lot of time with him. Was around Jordan a lot. There's a maturity to Jordan that I didn't think. You know, sometimes the transition from a physical standpoint isn't as difficult, but it's what is it mentally and how do they handle that transition? And that's what struck me very much about Jordan is how mature he was as a young man. I didn't think anything was ever going to be too big for him. So.
I know there's 3 practices to go here, but how uncertain are you about your secondary with Allen and Boyd?
I'm not. So I'm not. No.
Wednesday, Pat talked a little bit about Nick. Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Just taking it right there.
Sure, we talked a little bit about Nick and pocket presence and sometimes how he flushes himself out, etc. I was wondering, is that something you guys work more on, that particular problem, on the field or in the film room?
Both. I mean, you got to show it to them on film. I think they need to. You know, the learning process for anybody is I hear and I forget, I see and I remember, I do and I understand. So, you know, you got to see it on film to understand what's going on. But I think you really got to put them through it. You know what I mean? You can show it to him on film and say, hey, this is happening. And then, you know, I didn't think it was happening. It didn't feel like that to me. And then you show him on tape. Well, geez, I didn't know it transpired that way. Now, when you go out on the field, you got to drill it and try to put him in those situations where he can get a feel for how the pocket's coming in on, where we are, his ability to step up in the pocket and throw the ball on time.
Has the second year come along the way you hoped it would?
Who's?
Earl Wolf.
Hope? I don't have any hopes or aspirations for anybody, so I don't put that. I mean, I don't look at it that way. I mean, I don't put anything on anybody. I don't have a plan. No. For an individual player, I mean, we give them detailed plans in terms of workouts and things like that, but how they progress as a player, I mean, I think that's, you know, they're the one that has to have their own plan in terms of how they want things to work out. But, I mean, if you ask me what my plan was, is for him to start every game, have 27,000 picks, and win a Super Bowl. So he hasn't exceeded that right now. So
Is he a much better player now than he was at the end of last year?
at the end of last year, yeah, I think he was. He missed a lot of last year. I think it was a lot of football that he didn't play last year. So I think he's that experience factor he doesn't have, you know, that a normal second-year player has because he's missed a lot of time. So.
You're not uncertain because you think those guys are going to play, or because
I have 3 more days of training to go.
Marigold said his first year, you brought him in largely for special teams.
No, we brought Chris in to play football. I think we don't bring anybody in to just play, unless I brought Cody Parkey in to play special teams. But, I mean, when you bring a guy in here, we don't dedicate a roster spot and just say, hey, this guy's just a special teams player, don't worry about him. They got to contribute in all phases. And I think, you know, Chris has the ability. Fortunately, we've been healthy with Nate and Malcolm at that situation, so we haven't seen a ton out there. But I think our staff is confident in Chris, just as they are in Earl, at coming in there and getting an opportunity to play. But Nate and Malcolm are obviously our number one and number one safeties at both spots. So.
How much Kendricks plays on Sunday depend upon how he feels or how much he does in practice this week?
Both. You know, it's a combination of what packages does Billy feel comfortable with in terms of what he's been able to do and execute on film, and we're not going to put him in a situation where he hasn't got an opportunity to train in those situations. But it's also how does he feel, and we'll get together after Saturday and get a read with him and with Chris and say, you know, how many snaps do we think is in the right ballpark for him, and then Billy makes adjustments in terms of his play calling packages in terms of how we can fit him in there. So.
Over the last few weeks, there have been a number of
decent number of teams who changed quarterbacks and everything. And I was wondering, like, in your experience, have you ever done that based on experience? I mean, based on performance? And what would it take for you to do it?
Have we ever changed quarterbacks based on performance? Yeah, I've done that in games before. Yeah.
What kind of goes into that decision?
When we think the other guy's going to give us a better opportunity to win. Thanks, guys.